Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today we're delving into the world of global economics. We'll be exploring a fascinating and crucial topic: controlling global inflation, its challenges, and the strategies to manage it. Before we discuss strategies and challenges, let's grasp the meaning of inflation and why it's pivotal in the world of economics. Inflation is the sustained increase in the general price level of goods and services over time. It's like the invisible hand that continually nudges prices upwards. But why does it matter? Well, maintaining a stable price level is the bedrock of a healthy economy. It's the balancing act that ensures a country's economic growth. The dance between inflation and price stability directly impacts your purchasing power. Think about it. If prices rise too quickly, your money doesn't go as far. It's like running on a treadmill that's constantly speeding up. And there's more. Inflation also plays a significant role in shaping interest rates. Higher inflation often leads to higher interest rates, affecting everything from your mortgage payments to the return on your savings. So you see, inflation is a key player in the economic game, a silent force that shapes the contours of our financial landscape. Inflation stems from various factors, primarily demand pull and cost push inflation. Excessive demand for goods and services leads to price increases. This is known as demand pull inflation. When the demand for a product or service surpasses its supply, its price naturally starts to climb. This can be triggered by a surge in consumer spending, government investments, or even foreign investments. Now let's talk about cost push inflation. This occurs when the costs of production rise, pushing producers to increase prices to maintain their profit margins. These costs can include wages, raw materials, or energy. A classic example is when oil prices rise sharply, leading to increased transportation costs that ripple through various sectors of the economy, causing a general rise in prices. So, we see that inflation is not just a single-dimensional issue, it's a complex interplay of demand and supply factors, each influencing the price level in its own way. Central banks play a pivotal role in controlling inflation. Let's explore their role. Central banks use monetary policy tools, including interest rates and money supply regulation. These are their primary weapons in the battle against inflation. By adjusting the interest rates, central banks can influence the cost of borrowing. Lower interest rates often encourage more borrowing and spending, leading to an increase in economic activity. Conversely, higher interest rates can curb spending, cooling down an overheated economy. Central banks also control the money supply. They can flood the market with money to stimulate growth, or retract it to slow down inflation. It's a delicate balancing act, akin to walking on a tightrope, where swaying too much on either side can lead to economic instability. However, central banks don't operate in isolation. They are part of a larger economic framework that includes government fiscal policies. These policies, which involve government spending and taxation, play a crucial role in complementing the monetary efforts of central banks in controlling inflation. Responsible government spending and taxation policies complement monetary policies. This statement is the crux of fiscal policy, a critical tool in the fight against inflation. Fiscal policy is all about the government's revenue collection through taxes and its expenditure. The government can use fiscal policy to control inflation by adjusting its spending and taxation rates. For instance, when the economy is overheating and inflation is high, the government might decide to reduce its spending or increase taxes. This action can cool down the economy by reducing the amount of money in circulation, thereby curbing inflation. Conversely, in times of low inflation or deflation, the government might increase spending or cut taxes to stimulate the economy, increasing demand and pushing up prices. However, striking the right balance can be a tricky endeavor. Overdoing it can lead to other economic problems, like high unemployment or economic stagnation. Ultimately, international cooperation is vital to manage global inflation in our interconnected world. Countries must collaborate, with organizations like the International Monetary Fund providing guidance and support. As we live in an increasingly interconnected world, inflation is not just a local issue, but a global one. It's a domino effect. A surge in prices in one country can radiate across borders, shaking economies near and far. Therefore, international cooperation becomes paramount in managing global inflation. One of the crucial aspects of this cooperation is monitoring exchange rates. Exchange rates reflect the health of an economy, and sudden fluctuations can signal inflationary pressures. By keeping a watchful eye on these rates, countries can anticipate and counter potential inflationary trends. Trade policies also play a significant role. Policies that encourage fair and free trade can help stabilize prices, preventing inflationary spikes. Conversely, restrictive trade policies can lead to price increases, contributing to inflation. Stable supply chains are essential for controlling inflation, as recent events have highlighted. Issues in the supply chain can lead to cost-push inflation. Improving supply chain resilience is essential. Now, let's delve into the importance of supply chain management in controlling inflation. A well-managed supply chain ensures the smooth flow of goods and services from producers to consumers. When this flow is disrupted, for example, due to a natural disaster, labor strikes, or geopolitical issues, the production cost of goods and services can skyrocket. This increase can then be passed on to consumers in the form of higher prices, leading to cost-push inflation. To avoid this, effective supply chain management strategies include diversifying supplier bases and investing in technology for real-time tracking. Governments and businesses can work together to build more resilient, flexible supply chains that can withstand shocks and disruptions. In this way, supply chain management plays a crucial role in maintaining price stability and controlling inflation. In extreme cases, governments may resort to wage and price controls as temporary measures to stabilize prices. Wage and price controls can be temporary solutions, but they come with pros and cons. These measures involve government intervention to set maximum levels for wages and prices, often during periods of hyperinflation or war. They aim to curb inflation and stabilize an economy in crisis. However, they are not without drawbacks. When governments artificially suppress prices, it can lead to shortages as suppliers find it unprofitable to produce goods. This imbalance between demand and supply can exacerbate inflation rather than curb it. Additionally, wage controls can dampen productivity and innovation. When workers' wages are capped, they may lack motivation to work harder or innovate, potentially stifling economic growth. Lastly, these controls can distort market signals, leading to inefficient allocation of resources. The market cannot operate freely, which may lead to long-term economic issues. In essence, while wage and price controls can provide short-term relief, they often pose significant long-term challenges. Hyperinflation can have devastating consequences. Let's explore historical examples. Hyperinflation leads to economic turmoil, currency devaluation, and social unrest. This isn't just a theory, but a harsh reality that has played out time and again in history. The economic turmoil that hyperinflation brings is much like a whirlwind, sweeping away the value of money, wiping out savings, and leaving chaos in its wake. As prices spiral out of control, the currency devalues, reducing its purchasing power to near zero. This creates a vicious cycle, as people rush to spend their money before it loses any more value, further fueling inflation. The social unrest that follows is almost inevitable. Imagine working hard for a paycheck that can't even buy a loaf of bread. The frustration, desperation, and anger that such a situation breeds can lead to widespread protests, strikes, and even violent conflicts. Now, let's examine some case studies to see how countries have tackled inflation, both successfully and unsuccessfully. Countries that effectively managed inflation and the strategies they employed have offered valuable lessons. Take Germany, for instance. In the early 1920s, they were grappling with hyperinflation. However, with the introduction of the Rentenmark, a currency backed by land, they successfully stabilized their economy. On the other side of the coin, we have Zimbabwe. In the late 2000s, the country experienced one of the highest inflation rates in history. Despite numerous attempts, the government struggled to control it, ultimately leading to the abandonment of the Zimbabwean dollar. These examples underscore the importance of effective monetary policy and the dangers of excessive money supply. They highlight the critical role of trust in economic stability and the catastrophic consequences when it's lost. In both cases, we learn that tackling inflation is not a one-size-fits-all approach. It requires careful strategy, robust policies, and sometimes a little bit of luck. So, what does the future hold for inflation control? Consider the impact of technology, climate change, and other global factors on inflation control. As we move forward, we see technology playing a larger role, with digital currencies and fintech innovations shaping monetary policies. Climate change, too, has profound implications on inflation, affecting everything from agriculture to energy prices. The future of inflation control, thus, hinges on adapting to these dynamic elements. In conclusion, controlling global inflation is a complex task that requires a combination of strategies, international cooperation, and constant vigilance.